podcast and take this walk with me.
Welcome back to the Three Parallels podcast with your host, the Brother Dr. Jason Branch, where we rediscover who we were, we embrace who we are, and we make room for who we're trying to become. If that is you, you are in the right place at the right time, because today is part 2 of the Q&A session related to mental health and wellness. Awareness Month, which is the month that we are celebrating right now. And I'm glad you are here because I got some things to share with you. As I ended with the first episode, but before we even get to ending the first episode, I need you to know where we're coming from. We are live from Gator University, baby. Where my Gators at? Gator Nation, stand up or sit down or lay down or whatever you choose. I need you to do what works best for you because we're coming to you live from Gator University inside of Battle Cat Studios. What better studio that you know of where we can do podcasts but this one? So this episode is very unique. It's fun. It's exciting. I don't know what's going to happen. You already know. I know how the show's going to start. How it's going to end. I have no idea what's going to happen. But whatever it does happen is what's supposed to happen. So I'm not going to overtalk it. Or maybe I will. Spicy J's in the building. And he told me to tell you it ain't no podcast if he ain't on it. Now the protocol has been established. Let's get into the conversation. So, part 1, I ended with 2 questions that I didn't have time to fill. So I have time today. So we're going to fill them on today. So the 2 questions that I ended with was, why is therapy so expensive? And why is a good therapist hard to find? So let's dive in. Big shout out to everybody that contributed to questions, that engaged in social media, engaged in Gator U. I appreciate everyone for just being engaged and sharing thoughts, ideas, perspective, questions, and just getting involved because I've never seen mental health on display as it's been this month in 2026. I haven't seen it before. Big shout out to Kiera Gaines, was on the Breakfast Club, which was a dream of his, and he did it. Black male therapist who has a therapist out here doing great work. Big shout out to you, my brother. I would love to have you on a show whenever you ready, because now I'm sure you booked and busy. But in the meantime, in between time, anybody who is interested in sharing their story, highlighting their truth related to mental health and wellness, I'm looking for you. I would love for you to be on the show if you're willing to share your experience in therapy. Good, bad, ugly, I don't care. Share it. This is the show for it because we're diving into this mental health space. So I do not believe this is a coincidence. I am deciding to take advantage of this moment because you never know how people are impacted or influenced by you and your stories. And I got plenty of them, especially related to this profession, because I have over 20 years in this profession and over 40 years of life. We're talking about 60 plus years of goodness. Yes, indeed. And with this goodness, I'm in a place and space in my life where I'm ready and willing to give it away for free for now. So let's dive in. Get your notebook. If you don't have one, the Gator Skills Journal is available for you right now. Go and pick it up. If you do have one, get it. Grab you some tea, some water, whatever it is that you do, because we finna dive into a conversation that I'm thankful to have. Going back, episode 1, I ended with, why is therapy so expensive? So, phenomenal question. Why is therapy so expensive? The answer to this question is why anything is expensive, because we said so. Therapy is expensive because people said so. People say it's expensive. And the reality is it's not black and white. It's just not one size fits all. Therapy can be expensive, but that doesn't mean therapy is expensive because it's subjective. Depends on who you are and what bank account you have. So therapy doesn't have to be expensive, but it's subjective, whatever you think expensive is. So therapy, as I mentioned, can range from free to $200, $300, $400, $500 per session. A session can last 45 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour. Depends on who your therapist, depends on their framework of what they're doing. So therapy can be expensive, but it doesn't have to be, because you don't have to pay anything for therapy for some people, because there are therapists that's out there that offer pro bono services. They don't charge anything at all. It's just love, because they got plenty of money and they ain't worried about it. And there's other people who just want to give in service. So it's very broad when it comes to how much it costs. So to me, what's important is finding what's affordable for you. And whatever's affordable for you gives you a range of different therapists that you can connect with. However, the more that you may pay for therapy, more often than not, the more skilled, qualified, the more time this person has been in the profession. So I look at the counseling profession like the game of chess. Whether you're a client, whether you're a clinician, whether you are in training, graduate student, doc student, whatever case may be, I look at the profession like the game of chess. In the game of chess, you can learn how to play about 10, 15 minutes, but it could take you a lifetime to master. Same thing when it comes to this profession. We can learn how to be therapists 2, 3 years, 6 years, 7 years, but it take a lifetime to master. And if that applies to chess in the profession, that means it applies to us as well. You becoming the best version of you, developing that level of mastery of knowing yourself takes time. The time connects to practice. How often? Every day. Three parallels, which is exactly what this show is: who we were, who we are, who we're becoming. Those three individuals, plus many, many more, are alive and well all day, every day, looking at you, looking at yourself. Who is you? Yo ass. First name yo, last name ass. We cuss on the show too. Why? Because we're talking about therapy. There's nothing that we cannot talk about when it comes to therapy. So therapy is expensive for several reasons and it's subjective. But if we were to make it black and white, say for instance, therapy is too much for me to afford, that means the therapist that I'm looking for may not be in my price range. And that's okay. I need to find one who is. So for me, the idea about therapy being expensive, we as people have a hard time paying for things that we don't see immediate results for. So no one ever, I don't know anybody who said, why are my doctors so expensive? Why are the cell phones so expensive? Why are iPhones so expensive? I don't hear that. Why? Because you get instant gratification for something. A doctor prescribes something, give you some medicine, boom, we good. Go to McDonald's, boom, give me a Big Mac, it's good, right? iPhone, got a phone in hand, it's good. So I'm not considering the expense when I get something instant in return. That's human all day long. That's not therapy. Therapy does not give you something instant in return. It is work to really shift and change the outcome of your life. It requires work. It's not microwave. It's not in and out. Why? Because you've been dealing with whatever you've been dealing with for a long time. So what makes you think you're going to get rid of it or deal with it or manage it in 1 hour? It's not realistic. So therefore, we may not value a counseling hour because the results I want in an hour. That's not real. You've been dealing with trauma, drama, thing between you and your mama for 30, 20, 40, 50, 60, 80 plus years. And the expectation is if I pay you this money and I have one session with you, I need you to get a return on my investment. The return on your investment is showing up, being present, being patient, being consistent. Therapy is an experience that you get to have that takes time, which leads to the next question. How much time? How long it take? How long I need to be in therapy before this thing work? Phenomenal questions. The reality is as much time as it take, period. How long you been dealing with what you're dealing with? As long as you've been dealing with it. When do you want it to stop? When you decide to do something different. How long would that take? As long as it take you. I am so not sorry. So the time doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter at all because who cares about the time but us? Because time is arbitrary how long it takes. Does it matter how long it takes if I get what I need and become the best version of me possible? Not at all. But we as humans get caught up in this arbitrary timeline that we created for ourselves. If I pay this money, if I go to therapy, I expect this, this, and this. So I'm already going in with an expectation that's not realistic. I just want to talk about it because ain't nobody talking about it. So next question. What is a good therapist? And why is a good therapist so hard to find? Because there's not an abundance of great clinicians, in my humble opinion. There's three types of clinicians. You got horrible ones. Everybody already talking about it. We ain't got to talk about them. You got good ones who just do enough. And then you got great ones who do above and beyond, meaning the work on themselves to help you help yourself. That can be as difficult as finding as your partner, spouse, mate, date. Need you to see it. That could be as hard as finding an amazing job, right? Like I got a great job. I'm working for a great company. That's hard to find. If you think about your trajectory of life, your history, how many great things, people, places, and things that you've experienced, it ain't majority. It ain't all, in my opinion. It's not all. And how do I know what's great or what's good? Is because I had some bad. It's because I had some limiting things. I had some things that's happened to me that makes me see things differently. Think about the relationship or the last one you were in or the one you're in now that your friend keep telling you to leave, but you refuse because we can't see what we're in until we're out of it. So most of us who have been able to establish and maintain a healthy relationship or in a healthy relationship more than likely had experienced an unhealthy relationship. So how do I know what's good if I never had bad? How do I know what's bad if I never had good? Vice versa. So it is difficult to find a great therapist. And to me, a great therapist is a therapist who's a good fit. The fit is what makes a therapist great. Their skill set and ability and all that, it's subjective, but it's a fit. Because everybody who's a clinician is working at a different level based off of their background, beliefs, upbringing, culture, degree, specialty, you name it. It's all different. So it's hard to find based off of what I'm looking for, especially if I don't know what to look for. And for many clinicians and many clients, first-time clients, don't know what to look for, which is why we're here. So vetting, somebody said, Maria said, vetting a therapist can be a barrier because it's time consuming, emotionally exhausting. It's like dating, all facts all day. You almost have to sit down and try again when you're re-energized to try again. That's dating. Yes. And if you want to find the mate, guess what you got to do? Date. You got to date. You got to get out there, kiss some frogs, kiss some butts to find whoever you feel as though you need that's a good fit. Here's an example, a little self-disclosure. I found exactly who I was supposed to be with, who I married. Big shout out to my wife, Mia Branch, Dr. Mariana Branch. And I had to date. I had to kiss some frogs. I had to do a lot of things for 38 years, y'all. 38 years until I found the person that I chose to marry. 38 years. What's 30 days finding a therapist? Because once you find a good thing, we ain't finna go to the Bible, but once you find that good thing, what else is there? I got what I need. I'm good now. So to me, yes, it's exhausting. It's frustrating. It's a barrier. It's time consuming. These are all facts. And to me, it's worth it. Because if you find a great therapist that's a great fit, that can change your life forever, it's worth the wait. Next question. Somebody asks, what's the difference between a therapist and a life coach? Great question. I happen to be both. I'm a licensed professional counselor, licensed in multiple states. I am accepting new clients. I'm also an executive performance coach, and I'm all over. So you can get me whenever you're ready. Feel free, reach out, consultation, 404-436-2540. Text me, call me. Let's schedule something, put it together. The difference between the two, typically a therapist is somebody who's licensed. A therapist is usually licensed by a board. They may have a degree, master's degree, PhD. They've gone through a rigorous program in order to provide services because they have a skill set where they're able to help people help themselves. As a therapist, we don't give advice. We don't tell you what to do. And a lot of people think that and believe that. I saw the questions that y'all asked. That's not our job. That's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to help you help yourself by showing you the things that you may not be able to see because you're in it. Remember we talked about that relationship not too long ago? It was unhealthy and you didn't know it, but everybody and their mama saw it and they told you, hey, it's time to leave. You got to go. And you're like, no, but I love him. He was my main man. I loved him. You did until you didn't. When did you not is when you found out who he or she or them was. They were. Period. And once you get out of that relationship and then you do reflect back, you recognize, man, that was horrible. Why ain't y'all tell me? We did. So therapist is deep rooted, is going into your basement. There are three parallels, who we were, who we are becoming. There's also three parallels to your house: the attic, the living room, the basement. For those who don't know, I have to share. The attic is where you spend most of your time, which is in your head. The living room is where we are presently, but I can't be present if I'm so focused on the future or the past. In the basement, we don't go down there. There's padlock on the door. And all the things that happened to us from birth to where we are right now, we put in that basement, lock the door, and we never go down there unless we're willing to do the work. And I can't do the work if I'm not aware. Awareness can allow me to deal with the things in order to heal from them. But I can't deal or heal if I'm not aware. So I thank you for being here because you're getting something. I know it because I'm getting something and I feel it in my spirit. So therapist, licensed, trained, skilled, clinician, chess master, right? So they're able to help you navigate your life and the things that's going on in your basement. A life coach, surface what you're dealing with personally or professionally to go from A to B. What's A? What's the issue? What's the problem? Let's do whatever we need to do to get from A to B. It's more of a journey that's on the surface. Therapy is deep It's an experience. We're going on a journey. We're experiencing. We're in the basement. We're doing a lot of unpacking of things that happened to us in the past. That is the reason we're doing the things that we're doing in the present. Life coaching, it don't matter where you are, who you are. We can go from A to B, A to Z. Don't matter. So it's a different modality. Also, with a life coach, you can be certified. You may not be certified. There's no board. There's no agency. Anybody can just put a label and say they're a life coach, professional coach. Anybody can do that. I just want to say that. Everybody can't do that related to a therapist. You can't just say I'm a therapist. I mean, you can, but that's not real. So a therapist is somebody licensed. They went through a board. They went through a whole system in order to have this profession. Life coach, you don't have to do that. Next piece. What's the difference? If that's the difference between life coaching and therapy, what's the difference between a therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, licensed psychologist, clinical psychologist, counseling psychologist? Great question. Big picture, we are all social workers. All of us are helping professionals. And we're helping professionals that do things in different ways. Let me explain. If you are seeing a psychiatrist, typically a psychiatrist is someone who went to medical school to study the brain, study how the brain works. That's psychiatry. So a psychiatrist typically is a medical doctor who specializes in the brain, psychiatry. And typically they work in a lot of different places and spaces. And more often than not, they prescribe medication and help manage medication. So it's medication management and modification. So it's not a lot of talk therapy. You may see your psychiatrist 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. We're not doing a lot of deep-seated talking about things because that's where psychologists and licensed therapists and licensed social workers come in at. That's talk therapy. So psychiatrists think about medication, medical model, medical doctor. Psychologists, whether clinical or not, is someone who offers talk therapy. They may do assessments. They may be doing treatment planning, diagnosis. They may also prescribe medication. Some do, some don't. And so a psychologist, whether they're licensed, whether they're not, that's typically what they're doing. But most psychologists, if that's in private practice, they will be licensed. And that licensure gives them the credentials needed in order to serve people because it's a skill set. It ain't for everybody. Then you have licensed therapists, very similar, but a different model. So psychiatry connects to psychology, which could be the medical model. With therapy, it could be a different model as a master's level therapist or even doctoral level. It just depends. But typically, master's level therapists work towards doing talk therapy, office setting, office space, and you're talking. Licensed therapist is not prescribing medication, but they can help with medication management. So a therapist is doing the talk therapy, doing the work to help you in the basement. Psychiatrist in the living room, passing you a few pills, let's manage it. Social worker, same thing, different modality, looking at worldview. So sociology may be looking at what's going on with your mom and them. You need food, shelter, and clothing. We may need to work on some different things. It's a different mindset, different modality. Therapist, what's going on with you? What's in your basement? What's your heart? CBT, the whole nine. So we do things that are similar. So to me, all of us can help you. It just depends on what your need is, what the fit is. I hope this helps. If you got follow-up questions, feel free, let me know. Dive in. If you got a different perspective on it, feel free, dive in. I just want to share information. I want to share knowledge. The next piece, does my therapist have to be the same race, gender, culture as me in order for therapy to work? Phenomenal question. Big shout out to everybody that offered the questions. No, they do not. The belief is, and you got to understand the difference between beliefs and facts. Let me help you with that. Beliefs equates to 2 + 2 = 5. No one would ever say that publicly, but that's what a belief is. A fact is 2 + 2 is 4. What's the difference between these two? One you can prove, and the other one just feels good. There's evidence to prove something. The other just feels nice. So for us, I'll speak for Black folks. I'll speak for us. More often than not, for us as Black folks, especially if you've never experienced therapy before, being a part of Black culture, I ain't finna talk to somebody that don't look like me. So for many of us, there's mistrust related to traditional clinicians who happen to be white men and white women. So if I already have a cultural mistrust for white men and white women, I'm definitely not finna go look to one for therapy. That doesn't mean that a white therapist, brown therapist, green therapist can't help me. But the belief is that they can't because they don't understand, they don't know the lived experiences that I have because they don't have to navigate life the way I do. Okay. That's a belief and you're entitled to it. And brain surgeons don't have to experience brain surgery in order to be a phenomenal brain surgeon. So the belief is if you don't look like me, you can't help me. The fact is, anybody who's in position that's a good fit that can help you on your journey, it doesn't matter what they look like, their background, they can help you. Because think about the people that's helped you over the years, the people that you expected to help versus the ones who actually did. They may or may not look like you. So it's not required. However, it's preferred. That's the difference. Ooh, I feel like I'm back in the classroom, baby. It's not required, but it's preferred. I prefer Black therapists. Why? Because there's a lot of things I ain't got to talk about and go through to teach you or educate you about. I can just give it to you real and raw. If I say something that's part of the culture and you don't identify with the culture, now I got to spend half of this session telling you what the hell spoojack mean. Or black, or white. If you don't know, talk to the culture. Okay. So certain things we don't want to explain. It's hard enough to get in the seat. It's even harder to explain who I am. So that's why for many of us, we want to work with people that look like us because they can understand it. They see it. The reality is, even if I work with somebody that look like me, it still may not be a good fit. So to me, race, gender, culture, to me doesn't matter. What does matter is a good fit. Next question. How much would it cost? Mentioned this earlier. It can cost from $0 up to $300 to $500. It can cost, it's very subjective. It's a very wide range of what it can cost to go to therapy. To me, find what's affordable for you. That's through EAP, through your insurance. You can go pro bono. You can find graduate students because graduate students, more often than not, may be working in the field for pennies or nothing. Just how the systems. Big shout out to all my graduate students out there in the trenches. Listen, sometimes you got to go through the BS to get to the GS. Sometimes you got to play in the sign box in order to hang out on the beat. So big shout out to my doc students, master students, psychologists in training, clinicians in training, social workers. Big shout out to all my helping professionals working towards becoming one. So the cost varies. Find what works best for you. How long does therapy take? Again, some of these questions may repeat. I'm just giving y'all what I got. How long does therapy take? It depends. It depends. And to me, it's not really a timeline. Like, man, it was 3 months in, I changed my whole life. It's subjective. So to me, therapy is an experience that you get to have that to me is lifelong. Because therapy is an opportunity for you to start diving into your basement and unpacking things. So imagine, how long does it take to unpack my basement based off of how old I am? I'll speak for myself. 44 years of life with all the stuff in my basement. How long does it take to unpack a basement that got 44 years of stuff in it? You be the judge. Doesn't matter about the time. What matters is unpacking and removing things that doesn't serve the current or future you. By the way, for those who are listening, for those who are watching, whether on YouTube, you're on Spotify, I am on Instagram Live right now recording this episode, and I got somebody in the chat. Is that the one and only? Yes, that is Kenny Carter. I got family in here, y'all. Kenny had a comment I wanted to share. He said, talking to a white therapist about experiences with microaggressions in the workplace or world always seems like an extra barrier. I don't know if folks want to waste their session explaining. Facts. Because there are some clinicians who are not of color who may not have cultural competence or cultural humility in order to understand what this is, because what Kenny is talking about with microaggressions, if you don't know what that is, if you don't know what that means, and your first time hearing about it is from your client, that's a problem. That's a disservice. So as those new clinicians and for those who are training, this is your indicator. You need to find out what these terms are and what these things are by knowing about different types of people. It's not just a time where you can start learning about them in that session. Let me start doing the research myself. So thank you, Kenny, for sharing your thought. This is happening live, y'all. I'm on to something. I think, no, I'm not. I can't say I think. I'm going to start doing this podcast live on Instagram on top of what I'm doing already, because I'm already doing it. Why not? You can do with it what you will. Thank you for that, Kenny. Appreciate it. I'm glad you're here, brother. What are some things I should talk about in therapy? Great question. Whatever the hell you want. Whatever you want. Therapy is like confessional. That's not 5-10 minutes. It's not just a prayer, right? You go in therapy 50 minutes. That's usually a traditional counseling hour. You can sit in here and talk for 50 minutes about whatever you want to talk about under the sun. Now, as an experienced therapist, as a great therapist, I understand, and for those who are, also understand the importance of structure and content. That means when it comes to structure, as your therapist, we ain't finna talk for 50 minutes about Care Bears, butterflies, unicorns, and rainbows. We're not going to spend that much time on that stuff because that's external. We can't unpack what's in the basement if we just talking about the shutters on your outside of your house. That's for somebody. That's for somebody. So you can talk about whatever you want. How long you talk about it depends on the greatness of your therapist. So if you are in session and you talking for the whole time about a bunch of nothing, that's a problem. If your therapist allow you to talk and say the same stories over and over again, not the best therapist, in my opinion, or they're developing. Because a great therapist won't let you sit around and talk about a lot of these things outside of you because that is a way that you can avoid dealing with yourself. It's easier to talk about external things. And that's the first thing we usually bring to therapy, unless you've had experience or you have self-awareness where I'm coming in talking about things I don't know or don't see that's external. I'm talking about internal things. Let me tell you what's going on in my basement. That sounds like an experienced client to me. So as a client, you are responsible for the content. As a clinician, I'm responsible for the structure. You can talk about whatever you want, but we can't talk about it forever. That is it. That is all. What type of therapist should I look for? Excellent question. Whatever therapist you feel moved to connect with. To me, it don't matter. The modality, EMDR, CBT, Adlerian, we don't know until we experience it. Just want to be honest with y'all. You don't know until you experience it. Because my theoretical orientation is CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. What that means is our thoughts are the reason behind our behavior. If I want my behavior to change, I got to be willing to check, challenge, change my thoughts. That's how I do therapy all day long. You know how else I do therapy? 3 parallels. Guess what that is? CBT. Who we were, who we are becoming. Those are all based off of what we believe that connects to our actions, our behavior. You want to find out who somebody is, pay attention to what they do, not what they say. Behavior is everything to me because that's how I do my job, and that's how I do my job very well. Please and thank you. So to me, what you're looking for is who do I feel moved to connect with? So as you're looking at different therapists, in my opinion, my perspective is to begin interviewing these therapists. Just like a date. If you're going out on a date with somebody, what are you doing? You're interviewing. And some of y'all are worse at interviewing than others. I'll say that for another episode. But you're getting information about who they are and determining are they a good fit. Because most clinicians have no idea what these therapeutic theoretical modalities or orientation mean. CBT and Adlerian and Gestalt, psychoanalytic, we don't know what that means. Most people, average people, unless you have some experience in that. So therefore, it don't matter. My therapist is EMDR. What does it mean? I don't know. Find out. But it's a great fit. Find what is the great fit. And to me, that's the most important. That's what's important. What you're looking for, who's a good fit. Consultation. So the first step, consultation, reach out, start talking to somebody. Within a conversation, within 10 minutes or less, you know if this person good fit or not. Just like when you're dating, you know first date if you interested in this person or not. Now, you may have all these beliefs and ideas and expectations, and then when you show up together, then it's a different story. Same thing with therapy. We don't know until we experience it. So with that said, my challenge to you would be experience as much as you're willing to do or to have. I've had several therapists over my career, over my life, and I appreciate all of them because every therapist led me to the next one. Just like every relationship led you to the next one or the current one. Look at God working in this therapeutic space. All right, so another question came up. Do family and marriage therapists see single people with no kids? Great question. Absolutely, but that may not be their preference. Can they? Absolutely. No one just comes out the womb or graduate school, I'm a couples therapist and that's it, that's all. No. Every couples therapist was at one point in time an individual therapist. Because you don't always work with couples. You don't always work with individuals. We work with both. We work with all. So yes, there are some family and marriage therapists that do see single people with no kids. If you feel as though this couple's therapist, I like their style, like they swag, reach out to them. Hey, I'm coming to you by myself, but I'm looking for my partner later. Let's start with some individual sessions, and then let's move into couples. I just ain't got my partner yet. There are no rules besides the ones we create. Know that. Next, next comment what came up about, would they not be the best choice for that type of person? It's subjective. The issue that we have, especially related to this profession, and I'm so thankful for these questions because we can get down to the heart of things, is we make things black and white. As human beings, we love to keep it black and white. What's black and white? 2 + 2 is 5. It's perfectionism. I don't want to make a mistake. It's win or lose. It's right or wrong. It's good or bad. We're moving away from that and being okay in the gray. Let me explain what that looks like. Black and white, water and tea. Imagine if those are the only 2 beverages that you can ever have for the rest of your life. I would be upset if I can only have water and tea. So, so therefore, if you think about how many beverages can you consume in a lifetime, just different types of beverages, or how many beverages exist in this world, there are thousands, hundreds, millions, infinite amount of different beverages. That means if it's that many different beverages, let's say for instance, infinite, that means that's how many options I also have when it comes to this profession. So to me, find what works best for you. If it's a couples therapist, a marriage therapist, a equestrian therapist, an eco therapist, it don't matter. Who's the best fit for me? That's what you get to discover. Thank you for these questions. Keep them coming. Keep them rolling. I'm getting live questions coming in. I got my listed questions coming in. Listed questions posted. We just diving in. And if I'm talking too fast, slow it down. I can't help it. Spicy J is in the building. And I'm excited about this stuff. So next question. How do I know if my therapist is licensed? Great question. Typically, they're going to have some alphabet soup after their name. So check the alphabet soup. Typically, if it's a licensed clinician, psychologist, psychiatrist, they will say, I'm a licensed psychologist. I'm a licensed psychiatrist. I'm a licensed therapist, licensed professional counselor, licensed marriage and family therapist. So anytime you hear licensed, check their credentials, and also you can go validate it. Now, right now, I'm not going to put a lot of energy into this, but there's someone out here that's gone viral related to claiming to be something that she's not. And you know us, we finna find out. Let me find out. Hey, we finna find out. You know us. Don't say you out here, you something, and we find otherwise, it's gonna be a problem. And that's what happened. So the best way to protect yourself is to find. I ain't saying no name. They going live. It's getting live in the chat, y'all. I ain't saying no names. I ain't here for that. Okay. I'm like Master P. I ain't gonna speak ill on nobody. Master P said that until he spoke ill. Anyway, Spicy J's in the building. So to find out if your therapist is licensed, typically whatever state they're in that they're licensed, there is a board that has their information listed. They should have a license number. They should have a credential. They should have something that verifies and validates that they've done the rigorous work that it takes to become a licensed clinician. So licensed psychologists, typically they're schooling, 6-7 years of school, and then they have to sit for a board exam, the whole nine. That's how they get licensed. They have to do the work. They have to do training. They have to do like internships, assistantships. They have to do the work. They have to practice. Same thing for licensed clinicians. And I know that more than I do know about licensed psychologists. So if you're a licensed psychologist and you know something, hop in the comments, hop in the chat. Like, I can't do all this by myself. Okay. and because I don't know it all. I know a lot, but I don't know it all. As far as a licensed clinician, typically somebody who's a licensed therapist, they have a master's. And after they got their master's, then they have to get about 3,000 hours of supervised training working with clients. So imagine that's 3,000 hours worth of client work in order to get that LPC, LMFT. That's a lot. That could take 2 to 3 years or more, depends on who you are, where you are. And they're also paying for that. This goes back to that question, why is it so expensive? Let me break this down. We're gonna bend this left real quick, because this is what I know. As a licensed therapist myself, I had to do the same training that I'm sharing with you all, and this is why we charge what we charge. So as a master's level clinician, you're working for, I'm sorry, as a master's student, you're in school working for free. So for 2 or 3 years, you're in there. You may have to give up your full-time job. You may have to go part-time because you're taking classes. You're paying money to be a student. And then once you get to your last year, you're doing field placement, which is an internship. So you're interning for free for about a year where you're getting up to 700 hours of clinical experience. That's before you graduate. After you get that 700 hours of clinical experience, that's what allows you to graduate with a master's. Then you have to apply for supervision to have a supervisor to do the next 3,000 hours. So that's 3,700 hours that you got to get in order to be licensed, whomever. That's on this side. Now, here's why it's so expensive for those who say therapy is expensive. I'm not getting paid for any of that stuff more often than not. If I am, it's because I'm working with a private practice, I'm working with community agency, I'm able to get paid. But in school, I'm typically not getting paid. Once I graduate and I secure a supervisor to supervise me doing this work, say for instance, I am working in private practice, working in community, and I am getting paid, that's my salary, that's my job, I still have to pay my supervisor to supervise me. That could be as much as a counseling hour session. For me, my supervisor at the time charged me $150 per hour. So I'm paying somebody to watch me work with my clients. That's required. So you're paying for this. I just need you to see systeming. Another conversation for another day. So if I've done that for 3 years, I'm paying this person $150 an hour every week for 3 years. You do the math. That's why we charge what we charge. So then I get my license. I have to wait another 5 years in order to become a supervisor. That's why we charge what we charge. Also, all the hell that we went through to learn these skills and techniques, because we're not like everyday regular people. It's a skill set to be a therapist. That's why we charge. We put the work in. We invested. We put the money in. And imagine if somebody asked you, why you charge what you charge? Imagine somebody asked you that. Feel some kind of way, right? Same thing here. We don't question certain things, but when it comes to therapy, we be questioning. I'm going to move on because my emotions are starting to come up from my basement into the living room. Next question that came up live. How do you stop seeing a therapist if the vibe isn't right? Do you ghost them or tell them your last session or stop scheduling? Great question. We're going to have to do this every month. So how do you stop seeing them? You get to decide. Some therapists don't deserve a follow-up. Also, for many of us, especially as a new client, I may not have I have the capability, but I may not have the capacity to effectively communicate. That's why I ghost. So a lot of clients ghost their therapists because they don't have the capacity to communicate effectively. This isn't working for us. And it's no different from ghosting your therapist. It's ghosting that person you dated, and you owe them an apology. And I mean that. Your life work. For anybody listening who ghosted somebody on the date, apologize. Because reality is the reason you ghosted them, you didn't want to tell them the truth. The truth is, I am not feeling you. And them shoes was jacked. And you didn't pay for the bill. And you was being cheap. So whatever it is that you ghost somebody, understand why we ghost. I do not have the ability or the capacity to communicate effectively. So therefore, I won't. I'm out. It's not required, but it is preferred. Man, we can do this all day. Can keep going. Everybody on the line, keep going. So if I don't have that, then a lot of clients that it's not a good fit, meaning my therapist will hold me accountable and I don't like it, I'm ghosting. So some clients do ghost. And for the therapist that's listening, it's okay. It ain't nothing personal. It's just not a good fit. What's preferred, and this is coming from a therapist, is you communicate effectively. Hey, it's not good. It's not a good fit. And here's why. Because that information can help the next person. So imagine if you're a horrible therapist and you don't know it, and your clients ghost you constantly, you don't know why. You just keep bringing new clients in and they keep ghosting you. The reality is there's a stench in this room and I can't concentrate. But instead of telling my therapist they stink, I'm just going to ghost them. So now the next client that comes in, they got this stinking ass therapist. And then we ain't even talking about the spell. We talking about the stinkiness of their garbage in their basement that they haven't dealt with. Because even as a therapist, we got our shit too. The reality is everybody has their shit in their basement, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just gonna sit there and stink. The issue is when you take your shit from your basement and you put it on somebody else. That's why we go to therapy. That's why people are therapists and helping professionals for two reasons. Somebody helped them or they didn't. That's it. That's all. So my recommendation, if you meet a therapist and you find out it's not a good fit, have a conversation that helps you and them and this entire profession. What we usually do is not a good fit. We don't tell them. We leave. We never go back. And then we start talking shit about them. Same thing you do with dates. Girl, you wouldn't believe I went out with this guy and his shoes was turned up, looked like Iron Sheik. Or man, you won't believe the girl, man. She smelled like cheese nips. That's an actual quote. All right. So stop scheduling. So those were some of the questions. Do I stop scheduling? What do I do? In my opinion, you have a conversation. That's what adults do. Now, if you're a child, different story. And if you are a kid, hey, welcome to the show. I'm glad you're checking it out. I hope your mom and them gave you permission because we wild out over here. But if you're an adult, have an adult-like conversation. And if you can't do that, that's an indicator you need therapy. You don't know how to communicate. Some people don't know how. Some people don't apologize because they don't know how. May need some therapists. May need some therapy. Because we're going to repeat what we know. We're going to be just like our parents, complete opposites, somewhere in the middle. What other choice do we have? So if your parent didn't know how to apologize to you, if your parent didn't know how to communicate effectively with you, if your parent didn't know how to go to therapy themselves, guess what? Same for you. Complete opposite, somewhere in the middle, or the same. Excellent thoughts, excellent questions. Next question came up. Do you think seeing the therapist in person is more effective than virtually or by phone? Great question. To me, the modality depends on the person. There is a difference between all three because that's what it is in real life. I want to keep this analogy going related to dating and relationships because we all can relate to that, even if you never experienced therapy, and it's the closest thing. Now, I will say these are not interchangeable because you're not dating or being with your therapist in that way. It's not a real thing. But there are some therapists that take advantage. But one of the biggest things that we are taught as therapists, two things. Number one, do no harm. So our job is to not harm you in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Number two is never have sex with your client. Yes, it's 2026, and we're even as a professor, I'm still telling students, don't have sex with your student. Don't have sex with your client. Why do you think I'm still telling them that? Because there are horrible therapists out here still having sex with their clients. And if that's you and you didn't know, like, yeah, it was therapy. Like I pay him or pay her, and we do what we do. That's a problem. That's an issue. So if your therapist is horrible, let somebody know so they can stop hurting other people. Hurt people. And there's a lot of hurt people who happen to be therapists. Just want to talk about it. So the modality does not matter to me. It matters to the person. I'm the same, whether we are in person, whether we're virtual, through Zoom, whether we're on the phone. This energy, this vibe, you're going to get it no matter what. There are clients that I work with for years. Don't know what I look like from the waist down, torso down. They have no clue whatsoever. I may be 6'8" around here. Never know. Because some clients I've worked with forever and never met them in person. So to me, the difference between the modalities, for some people, especially, our older community, we ain't doing a Zoom deal. We ain't doing Zoom with their own kids. I'm definitely not going to do Zoom with no therapist. So for some people, it's like, nah, I don't like that modality. Doesn't mean it doesn't work. Doesn't mean it won't work. It just doesn't work for that person. Same thing. I don't want to talk to my therapist on the phone because I need to see him. I need to see you, need to see how you feel, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't work. But therapy on the phone works. Therapy is even working with no phone, no internet, no video, because there are some apps available where you text your therapist. Talkspace, BetterHelp, some of these modalities, you're just texting. You'll never see this person. And for many people who've now gone into this AI space, you're looking at Claude and ChatGPT as doctors, and you talking to them like they're therapists. Why? Because I'm afraid to go see somebody for real. It's fear. The reason why you do or don't do therapy, in my opinion, can be boiled down to fear. What is fear? Things I don't know. Period. And this is why we're having this conversation, so you can know, so you can make a wise decision. I can't make a wise decision based off of information I do not know. So to me, the modality does not matter. What matters is the person and their preference. For me, I love doing therapy. I don't care what modality it is, because you're gonna get the same me no matter what we doing and how we doing. Excellent question. We're gonna keep this thing moving. So, next question. What kind of work should I expect to do? Excellent question. That sounds like you ready to work. And I'm with it. So to me, it's subjective. Hope y'all noticing this. Between coffee and tea, you have thousands of options to choose from. That's why it's very rare for me to give you a black and white answer. So, what kind of work should I expect to do? To me, it's unpacking whatever's in your basement. I'm just simplifying. So, to me, there's not a big expectation, because the best way to show up in therapy is to show up. Just show up and let the chips fall where they may. That means I have to be willing to become comfortable being uncomfortable. If I'm willing to do that, I am ready. That means I got to be willing to talk and share and be honest about what's going on for me with my therapist. They can't help me if I don't let them in. And for many of us, we're not letting other people in because we've done it before and we got hurt. So I'm definitely not going to let no therapist in. I'm definitely not going to let no white man or white woman tell me about me. That ain't what we do in therapy. But for some people, you believe that. So therefore, I never go. I can't do something that I do not know exists. And for many of us, especially black folks, we don't know that great therapy exists unless we do. And to me, once you get you a great therapist, man, your life will change. I don't care what they look like. Big shout out to my therapist, Dr. Ho. What up, Ho? Yeah, I'm going to have her on the show. And guess what? She ain't black. And she's good at what she does. Not saying that black therapists aren't great. We the shit. Black therapists the best therapists out here, in my humble opinion. Better ask somebody. Next thing. Next thing. What is my part in the process? To be honest, authentic, and willing to do things you never done. Honest, authenticity, and willingness to do things you never done, and be consistent. If you can remain consistent and do those things, you are in the clear, to me. So therapy is an experience that you get to have. Whatever you're getting in therapy, whether it's one session, you're getting something. So make sure you find what works best for you. Little self-disclosure of my therapy journey. There was a time in my life, this is in Jersey, when I first moved to Jersey, and I'm adjusting, transition from being a doc student to a professional working at an institution and navigating spaces as the only black male, just dealing with a lot of different things. And I reached out to this therapist, and he charged $300 a session, $300 an hour, cash money, didn't take insurance or nothing. So my belief was, oh, he 300, he gotta be the best. Cause I don't even charge 300 and I'm the best. So I scheduled, we did a consultation. It was decent. But I didn't know it until I experienced it. So I experienced our first session, and we talked about him the whole time. The whole time. He's curious about what I do, what bourbon I drink, where I like to hang out at. No shade, no disrespect. He was a psychologist that gave me that, and I couldn't understand. As a licensed therapist, like, I would never do what he did, but that was his norm. So he charged, $300, and to me, he was not a great therapist. He was horrible because he didn't know how to do his job, in my opinion. Because his job was related to him sharing what's going on for him, because that's what most of the session was about. So this is your indicator. If you were in therapy and your therapist is talking way more than you about themselves, not the best fit, not the best therapist. So having him and finishing the first session, I just felt empty. I was overwhelmed. Like, yo, you got problems. Talking about my problem. You got problems. Therefore, this conversation is not needed. And this was during a place and space in my life where I didn't have the voice that I have now. I didn't have the ability to take up space like I do now. So a part of me wanted to ghost him. A part of me didn't want to share with him my truth of what I experienced. A part of me just wanted to bow out gracefully. But my future, that was the old me. The future me was like, you need to let him know about himself, because he's going to hurt a lot of people if you allow him to. So we had to have a healthy conversation. So I I pre-ghosted him. And the pre-ghosting is not scheduling, not following up. That's the pre-ghost. And before I ghost him completely, the reason I was just scheduling and rescheduling because I didn't want to do it again. I was feeling some kind of way, but I didn't have what was needed for me to communicate effectively what my needs were. For many of us, we don't have the ability to communicate what our needs were because of our upbringing and background, culture, and everything else. But once you become him, her, them, all caps, no blue hat, you don't mind speaking up and speaking your truth. And that's what I did. So I let him know, hey, man, honestly, I want a refund if I can get it. I know it's been a while, but I need a refund because this wasn't a good fit, and let me explain why. And I let him know most of our session we talked about you, your life, your wife, your divorce, your kids, your stuff. You asked me about my bourbon taste. What does that have to do with me in my basement? So I was honest with him, and he appreciated it. And he recognized in that moment, like, yeah, I think I got more things I'm dealing with that I knew. Maybe I need to see somebody myself. And it was a moment that we had that was so beautiful. And I'm sure he's doing great work now because he started working on himself. That's what being a great client is. That's what being a great clinician is. I hope this helps somebody. If it don't, rewind it and listen to it again. Next piece. Should I expect a takeaway or some homework from the session? Depends on who the therapist is. Some therapists do homework. Some people don't at all. For me as a therapist, I give life work. I don't give homework. Homework, you take it home, you do it, never remember it again. Life work, you take it home, you do it, your life will change. That means a pivot will happen. Anytime I offer life work is an opportunity for a pivot. Here's an example. This is your life work who's listening right now. I would challenge you today, for the next 7 days, starting today, to be willing to do something different, uncomfortable, or new. Doesn't matter what it is. If you really want to take it to the next level, you listen to this and you're still here, is your indicator. It's time to consider a therapist. It's time to consider therapy. It's time to upgrade. It's time to evolve. Time to fire somebody. Time to go somebody. It is time for you to take care of you by investing in yourself. Therapy is an investment. It's an investment in yourself. And to me, it's worth it. It's worth it. Therapy has changed my life. This profession has changed my life. Me being an educator, me being a clinician, me being a father, me being a husband. Therapy is a huge root of my life changing. Let me give you the origin. I took a psychology class in high school. Loved it. Dayton Public Schools, big shout out, Dunbar High School, Dayton Public Schools. And it was a black school, predominantly black, 99.9% black. Even the white people were black. Let's go. And one white guy was my teacher, Mike Slidham. Big shout out to Mike Slidham. Mike Slidham was a psychology professor. He was also a tennis coach. Now, he wasn't the greatest tennis coach, but he was a great psychology professor. That's how I got into psychology. Psychology led me into counseling. Counseling led me into in-home therapy. I'm doing in-home therapy in Birmingham, Alabama, JBS Mental Health Authority, where I'm a co-therapist working with clients, and most of those clients look like me. So typically it was a team therapist and a co-therapist going into the client's home and doing therapy with them in their home. That's what shifted things for me. Because I'm like, yo, I love this work. And my clients love me because they're like, oh man, they go Mr. J. They go Mr. J. Y'all see Mr. J? Those are my clients. They didn't care about my co-therapist who was a white woman. Hey man, you can leave that white woman. But we like when you come over. He wear Jordans and everything. My clients love me and I love them because it was a healing experience for me and I didn't know it. So every time I'm working with black clients, mothers and aunties, and these are my people. Because we connect, we related. So the rapport was already established when I walked through the door. That's how I started my career. That changed everything for me. Another story for another time, another day. Also, some of these stories is in the podcast, other previous episodes. So dive in, bring a friend. Next piece. If I come in guarded, what steps can I take beyond your reassurance that I could switch to be open? To me, if you come in guarded, this lets you know, this is an indicator already what's going on for you. Because if I'm coming in with my boxing gloves up, that means I'm here to defend. What are you defending? Your beliefs. 2 plus 2 is 5. Okay? 2 plus 2 is 5. Or 4, depends on your perspective. So if you coming in guarded, I'm still thankful that you came in. You coming in guarded is you expecting things to be what they're not. That's the addict. The more time I spend in my head, the addict, the more I create scenarios where I die at the end. Yeah, we're going to talk about it just for a moment. So, for the most part, many of us as humans, we live in our head, right? That's the addict. And the addict, I need you to see yourself for a moment. Imagine that you are a very wealthy individual and you're financing your first movie. And you're financing, you got the best producer, you got the best director, the best actors, Key Grip, all these people. You got the best. You, the lead actor, actress in this movie, you got the script, you invested all of this, and we do the film and you die at the end. That's what's in your head, which is why you come in guarded. Is everything that happened to you that you're thinking about that's already happened. It can't get no worse than what already happened. But my belief is it's going to be worse because now I got to share it. It's subjective. Sharing it is awareness. Sharing it is dealing. Sharing it is healing. You don't have to like it, but I will challenge you to try it. So if you come in guarded, I would tell you, take off the boxing gloves, let go, be present, and see what happens. Next piece, how do we dismantle the weight of another label that is depression, anxiety, a DSM-4 diagnosis, the whole nine? How do I get away from the label? Excellent question. And whew, y'all got me working today. Man, I'm going to have to charge for this. Speaking of charging, 3 Parallels Podcast got a Cash App. If any of this hit you in any kind of way, throw some money in the Cash App. I am working today. I wasn't not planning on working. So, how do I avoid a diagnosis? It's hard to avoid a diagnosis. The reality is, a diagnosis doesn't mean anything besides the meaning that I give it, because a diagnosis gives me an idea of what may be going on for me based off of research of what people then came up with related to categorizing humans. That's a system. That's a person that created this a long time ago, and the people that created it don't look like us. Just want to talk about facts. Because I don't know if you knew this or not, but the DSM-4, you may have heard of this, you may not. DSM-5, this is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Health Disorders. This is the Bible for most clinicians, helping professionals when it comes to diagnosing. So a licensed clinician can diagnose you, a licensed psychiatrist, licensed psychiatrist, they can diagnose you. Typically, you need a license in order to diagnose. The diagnosis primarily can be used for insurance reimbursement. If anybody that does not have a diagnosis that gets a diagnosis, many Black people or people of color or people from marginalized communities, the reason we get a diagnosis is so the helping professional can get reimbursed. So a lot of the times that people diagnose is to get paid. It ain't got nothing to do with you. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. But if you have a diagnosis, it's more than likely because somebody need to get paid. And as a clinician, there has been times in my career where I diagnosed someone who didn't need a diagnosis, but I needed to pay my mortgage. Just want to talk about facts. The reality for me, because it's a morality thing, who I was as a therapist that was doing insurance many moons ago, I was honest with my clients because most of my clients were people of color. I let them know, hey, in order for this to have this session, in order for you to use your insurance, I have to give you a diagnosis in order for me to get paid. This is not actually what you're classified with, but in order for me to maintain my livelihood, I can't pay bills on love. I love you, but this is a part of what I have to do in order for me to get mine. I just want to be honest. And because of that moral dilemma I had throughout my career for 20 years, I decided I'm done with insurance. I've been gone for about 2 years now. I do not expect to go back ever because it's a disservice, because it's a systematic approach to mental health and wellness. It's systems, because this same system decides who get reimbursed and who doesn't based off of the diagnosis. And that diagnosis is based off of whoever created it, which does not look like us. I need you to know something. DSM-4, the first diagnosis ever in life was drapetomania in the 1900s or 1800s. I can't remember. think it was 1800, maybe 19, I don't know, 1800s. Yeah, 1800s. Because drapetomania was the diagnosis that there's a mental health disorder related to a slave wanting to leave their slave master. You have to be going through something mental. Why would you want to leave this great life? That was the first mental health diagnosis. I don't know if you knew that. You know it now. Share the truth with somebody. So if you think about that and how far we go back from that, that was the first diagnosis, and look where we are now. There's a point in time in the DSM where being gay, being a lesbian, being part of LGBTQIA plus community was a disorder. Being a slave and wanting to leave your slave owner was a disorder. I need y'all to see this. This is humans being human. We put barriers around it. We meaning humans. Let me break that down real quick. I look at the world, look at us as a beach in the sandbox. The beach is how big and how vast this world is. There are uninhabited beaches all over that humans have never stepped foot on, ever. And then somebody decided at all these beaches out here, somebody, usually a white dude, decided to put a sandbox in this beach, on this beach. And that sandbox has barriers, rules, parameters, beliefs, ideas that put people into a box that fits to make them comfortable. Just want to talk about it. More often than not, those individuals I consider to have the trifecta. The trifecta is typically a white male who's cisgender, meaning he identifies as a heterosexual male. So he's white, he's male, he has a certain pedigree, meaning he went to school, right? He got his degree, he went to school, or came from school, like his parents went to school, his grandparents went to school. The fourth, this person has wealth, have a certain amount of money. When you have money, you can say and do whatever you want to do. Don't believe me? I'm finna prove it to you. Last is privilege. They have the privilege to do whatever they want to do, even classify humans to be in a box, which equates to diagnosis. A diagnosis can help, and there are diagnoses that can hurt as well. We got to be mindful of all. And just because somebody wants to diagnose you doesn't mean you have to experience a diagnosis. You get to decide because it's a mutual decision when it comes to treatment planning, goal setting, and diagnosis. You have your rights as well. So make sure when you're doing your informed consent, when you first start working with somebody, read the fine print. That's a hard thing for us because when was the last time you read the fine print on that new phone you got? Never. So you have a lot of rights and responsibilities. We just don't know about it. So trifecta is what I was talking about. And that if you think about the trifecta, you know, we can look at the current president. He has the trifecta. You can literally get away with murder. Weinstein, Epstein, Madoff, Murdoch. I mean, you name them. There's just people that have the trifecta that can literally get away with murder. The only person that was a person of color that I know of that almost had the trifecta, that didn't have the trifecta, that almost got that. Sorry, give me a moment. The only person of color that I know that was close to the trifecta was O.J. Simpson. You see what happened to him, okay? No shade, no disrespect. I'm just talking about behavior. I'm talking about history. And if I don't know behavior, if I don't know history, if I don't know me, then I can allow myself to be in the same space of 2 + 2 is 5, my beliefs. So I had to give you that information to know that you're not required to get a diagnosis. However, if certain therapists are diagnosing, sometimes we have to in order to get reimbursed. If you don't want a diagnosis, you may want to see a therapist where you're not required to get a diagnosis in order for them to help you. You have options. Again, the diagnosis, it gives a framework of how to treat. It gives a framework of how to help. It gives a framework of what some commonalities with people who may deal with this certain or specific disorder. I hope this is helpful. This is way more than I thought it was going to be, but it was necessary and needed because we just allowed it to happen. So if this episode has given you anything, breadcrumb, ripple, whatever, share it. Like, subscribe, share, give it away. Especially to somebody who you feel as though could benefit from therapy, even yourself. Listen to it again. Because now you have a person who is an expert in this lane giving you information that is also subjective, and I'm talking about it because it's not black and white. So therefore, this is more information and credibility than your friend down the street who ain't never been to therapy that talk about therapy, but talk about it related to, I ain't finna go, I got Jesus. You can have Jesus and a therapist. And you can have any religious affiliation and a therapist. You can do and have whatever you want and have a therapist. I just want to talk about facts, but who cares about facts when you're in your feelings, which this show allowed us to do and to be. So I thank you for listening. I thank you for staying here with me. I hope you got some notes. I hope you got what you needed. My hope, my expectation, I don't even hope only got Obama in office. My expectation is that somebody got something from this episode that allowed them to pivot in order to consider therapy for the first time in their life. And they went and it was great. And they're sharing the story of how therapy helped them exactly how I'm sharing how therapy helped me. This has been another episode of Three Parallels Podcast with your host, the Brother Dr. Jason Branch, where we rediscover who we were, we embrace who we are, we make room for who we're trying to become. If that is you and you are in need of a therapist, now is the time. Go find you one. If I can be of service, let me know. If you need a coach, go find you one. If I can be of service, let me know. If you need community, if you want to build community, if you want to be a part of community, Gator University has open enrollment. Jump in, bring a friend. Any way that I can support you, assist you on this journey called life, let me know. Until then, have a great day. Peace.